The recording.
There we go. Yeah, so let's get started, I guess.
Okay.
Um, I posted the agenda out there. The first thing, I guess to go over is just some of the things that we want some of the goals that we want the club to have, um, and some things we want to work towards. So it's kind of leave it open to discussion. So
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you so much for organizing this. That's awesome.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm super excited for it. So yeah. Nope, that's like Hellion. There we go. So, anyone have like some ideas, just thoughts about general goals? I know we kind of wanted at least some I'd like to see a little bit more with Quail showing, getting Quail into shows. And a lot of people wanted direction with breeding Quail. So kind of I'd like to see that in there, but it's up to you guys too, and get some thoughts and just general things written down. So,
Well,
It's
I
going to
have
be
a
really
few
hard.
questions. Oh, sorry, Jennifer, go ahead.
It's going to be really hard to do quail shows. I
yeah.
go to chicken shows,
Yup.
and majority of them don't even allow large fowl. Believe it or not, they're almost all bantam only shows.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
very hard to
Right.
find a large fowl show. So then the shows are shrinking anyway because a lot of the breeders want to keep their a lot of breeders want to keep their genetics to themselves, and they're not sharing and they're not expanding, and it's really hurting the APA. So it's going to be a rough road to try to add quail in, I think.
Interesting. I've been to a couple shows in Wisconsin, like the Portage International. They usually have a decent amount of large fowl, but I haven't been to any of the national shows down south. So
Funny.
Well, I guess a goal could be if we
You
can't
think that was funny?
if we can't figure out how to
Oh,
get to
hey,
the I'm getting back speed, I guess, or something.
No, I can hear it.
Okay. If we can't figure out how to get into the chicken shows, then work towards having our own shows.
yeah.
It's chicken people. Jennifer.
Well, you need a poultry club to do a show. And so that requires a lot of volunteers and a lot of organization. So it probably would be easier to piggyback on something that already exists.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I had talked to Richard Peters, I think his last name is, who runs the national show down in Oklahoma, and he was more than willing to be to help us get Quail into the national show.
Cool.
If we kind of like he wanted a little bit more information and a little bit more, but like just what our goals are and what we want to work towards. But he was more than willing to open it up to Quail as well.
Good. He's a good one to bring on board.
Yeah, I guess going a little bit more club wise, what are some things that we want to look towards doing for the club? Like I guess setting some rules is definitely on there. Officer positions, um, all of that would kind of like to get sorted out, or at least the beginning of it, with the meeting.
So I had a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was muting it until I was talking, but I guess I'm a member. I'm new to Quail, by the way, as you guys probably know. I started in January with some birds from Southwest Game Birds. And then now recently Rebecca's birds. But I guess what my question is for this group is how is this group different? I think that's probably the first thing you need to decide is how is this group different than like Coturnix Corner, the other groups that we have. Is this group to kind of set some professional standards for the breeders in the country? So I guess I would start there with a high level. What is the purpose of?
Yeah. Anyone else? I'll let someone else answer.
Well, I think you're going to need the group. You're going to need positions, like you said, and usually the other groups are divided into districts to kind of lighten the load for people asking a bunch of questions. So you could create districts as we get more volunteers to help, but you're going to need a standard. If you can't breed to standard, you can't judge to standard, you can't sell the standard, and selling the standard is most of the revenue, I would think.
Right. I guess I think what would set it apart a little bit different, Coturnix Corner and different groups, like I know the pip, like the virtual show I have is run by one person. So like the standard that we used for the pips and chicks, that was just something I wrote. Other people had input and just like thoughts on it, but it wasn't really a collection of different people coming together. So I guess seeing the group, talking together a little bit more, instead of having videos that we send to people, like Coturnix Corner has some great educational videos, but it's mostly you talking to them, having it a little bit more collaborative and having a lot of the people coming together to kind of agree on, like you said, one specific standard.
Yep, so we could take your standard and we could vote on it and put it into place as the standard. And then you could create a sub law that just says if you propose a change to it, then it has to be put to a vote. We can just steal the bylaws from other groups. We don't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and I know Rebecca and Michael, you two were working on a book. I don't know how far that's come, but you had talked about it at least for a little bit. That would work really well to incorporate that as well. Because the formatting of mine is a little bit different. I'd like to see it a little bit more of a consistent formatting, I guess.
Yeah, our book kind of got waylaid a little bit by Martin Yardley's book. So I still want to do a book and try to gear it towards, a Coturnix Quail SOP kind of thing. But it'll be a while. I'm
Yeah.
really
Okay.
busy.
Yeah.
Can I speak on that as well?
Yeah,
This is
Absolutely.
Michael. I know my video is not on. So we're working on editing and finalizing Martin Yardley's book, and it's going to be a really good resource, especially for intermediate and advanced breeders, as far as plumage genetics and things like that, and some husbandry issues, ideas for how to start a farm and whatnot. But standard of perfection and breed standards is probably a whole other book. And honestly, we can start working on standard of perfection as a general breed, treating all Coturnix like one breed. But as far as separating different breeds, I know at our farm we're just not there yet. I don't want to jump the gun and do things too early and then have double mating become an issue in quail like it has in so many different chicken breeds. So we just need to be really cautious when we're defining any type of breed standards to make sure to thoroughly vet it and actually have proven techniques and standards in place rather than just coming up with something off the top of our head from what we think looks good.
Absolutely.
I think that's a very responsible way to approach it.
Okay, let me interject here. You, Michael, and Rebecca are going to speak from breeder standpoints. When you go into shows, show people have different agendas. They will cross anything to make it look better to beat the next person. So breeding to standard is very different than breeding to show, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
you have, if you're going to do it, you need to make a standard, which is not my thing. That would be y'all's thing, but not put that in place thinking that that's what you're going to see at this show necessarily.
So I'm glad we have all these different viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a little bit there, I'm newer to quail. Actually, I've only not even been in it for a full year, but I raise dairy goats, and I'm in the American Dairy Goat Association, and their standards are super strict. They have what's called a grade and American system, and experimentals, where if you cross two breeds, they are then registered as experimental or grade. So it's marked that they are a purposeful cross. You're trying to combine these things. So we could have a system like that. And then like if you breed American back to purebred for 3 generations, the babies are now purebred instead of American. So we could set up something like that, where if people want to play around and do the crosses, just have a whole separate category for it.
In birds, I don't think it would be fruitful to have a registry. I'm in the goat
Right.
registry also. I don't think there's a way, just for example, if you have, I have Buff Orpingtons, if you want Fluffier to win at the next show, you'll breed in some coaching and try to breed it back out to get the fluffy feet out, and you'll pluck the feet feathers. And you're cheating. It's completely cheating, but that's what you're going to see at the show. So
I don't know poultry
want
shows. So.
well, you don't want to register that, is what I'm saying. You don't want anybody to know that that's what you're doing. I don't do that.
Okay.
You sure not go put it on
Yeah.
paper.
The good news is that we're working with one breed. They're just different colors of the same breed, and different sizes, whatever. But at least we're not crossing breeds, so that does help.
The hardest thing, at least for me with the virtual show, was trying to figure out class wise too. I know with the Australian show, they do a ton of different classes. So they've got a class for just about every single one of the more popular varieties. But in a chicken show, there's only 5 or 6 classes max. And then the classes get broken down by breed, which we can't really do because we're one consecutive breed. But we can break it down by variety a little bit, but then how you want to keep breaking it down, because there's no way to say like, okay, if you have silver and sparkly, you can have both on the same bird. You can't have both on the same. It's a little bit more accepted to have 2 different varieties on the same bird for Coturnix than it is on a chicken.
Well, I would suggest that we just start with maybe 6 varieties, not be overwhelming, and maybe just add them and as the group grows.
Yeah.
Does 6 seem like a reasonable number, Rebecca, Michael?
I would say, starting with kind of the basics, Pharaoh, EB, and Fawn, and building from there. That makes the most sense to me.
So 3 varieties,
or that could be broken into 5 depending on how you look at it. So how you wanted to go about it.
Isn't that what you're doing, Bree, with the virtual show? Isn't there just 5?
Yeah.
Well,
We've got 5. We've got 5, and then a 6th for one that have any other dilutions on them.
Right, the open. So I guess when I first started learning about quail, I thought pansy was considered a base color, but maybe that was, I think on Allie's website, I think I read that. Is that not, it's not really the case anymore?
Mm-mm.
Not really. Michael, yeah, if you want to pick that up.
Yeah. So the classification on plumage based on patterns and dilutions is not consistent from country to country. And basically, there's 2 genes that are really affecting pattern dramatically. And that's sort of been dubbed base patterns. And then all the dilutions can play on those. But contrasting that to more developed industries where there's breed standards, those are really just affecting the plumage color. So the plumage color and pattern. And I'm wondering if it would be more fruitful to start with type. So maybe an egg type and a meat type, or size. So bantam, standard, jumbo, because that really affects the overall health of the bird and how it's bred. But that's a conversation we'll have to have. Do we go based on what the bird is bred for, or do we go based on the plumage genetics alone? And I'm not really sure which direction we want to go or how to start. I think someone who has experience maybe with some of the other successful groups with other species might be able to speak to that a little bit better.
Good point.
You would do breed with varieties, and you would do bantam and large fowl in a chicken world.
So So then would you consider Coturnix then just one breed with a ton of different varieties? It's definitely a direction we could take.
I think
I
we
kinda
should
see
start
it-
small.
I kind of see it as you have, the breed itself, you have Coturnix, and then you can break it down into jumbo, standard, phantom. And then from that, there's all the different colors within those. Or the way, Michael put it, you could also look at it as, what their purpose is for meat or eggs. There's that as well, but I kind of see it as, going from just, the overall breed into the size categories, because that's how it is with chickens. It's, you have, chickens are broken into, bantam and large fowl or whatever, and then from there into the separate breeds, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And also kind of what their purpose as well, or where they
Yeah.
originate. No,
Not in the SOP, they're not divided by egg or meat. Some of them are classified as dual purpose, but that's in the description.
got it. Okay.
They do, going off of that a little bit, on some of the smaller shows, like if you go to a county fair, they'll have additional classes for production birds. So that'll be like your high lines, the production birds that you'll get from a hatchery, and those will be judged more on like their laying capabilities, but there's not a specific standard written out for that. And that's really only for smaller shows. They don't have that in this like American standard of perfection at all.
No. Well, if I am to propose something, I would say I can pull, I'm assuming I'm the only one here with the SOP. Does anybody else have an SOP? I know
do.
you do. Okay, so we can just pull the information out of there and just kind of fill in the blanks. And not really start from scratch, just kind of steal their stuff and start from there.
For those of you who aren't in the chicken world, SOP stands for Standard of Perfection. It is a big book with a whole bunch of chicken breeds saying this is how the breed should be. So that's what we're talking about. It's for the American Poultry Association.
Do you want to start there?
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing to start with. Just bring it forward if you want to either post it in the group or bring it up. We can also figure out when the next meeting is going to be, what day, time works for people. That's probably a good thing to bring up right away.
How often you want to meet?
That was a great question. Who had asked that? I think William Foster asked that. Was one of the first things, like, how often do you meet? And I'm like, I don't know yet.
Let us have the first meeting first.
Yeah. The chicken poultry clubs, they meet once a month usually.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. I don't know if we want to meet more often just while we're getting started to get some things established and then go to kind of once a month. I know some of the bigger groups meet even less than that, but it's up to you guys.
We could probably get a lot of stuff done by posting it in your Facebook group and filling in the blanks. And that way a lot of that gets done and not necessarily in the meeting beforehand. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah. And then we can kind of just recap all of that and go over it in the meetings just to make sure everyone's on board and everyone sees that is okay with it. As far as membership goes, do we want to have just some base guidelines on I've kind of been accepting anyone that answers the questions on the Facebook group. But do we want to kind of set, I guess, parameters on that a little bit more?
So I was thinking today, I made some notes. Again, it goes back to what's the purpose of this group? Is it to be kind of like a leadership group for quail for new people that are getting into breeding. And then one of the things I thought of is maybe even have a code of ethics for, like, have someone commit to a promise that they won't, be a multiplier. They'll be a selective breeder, and that they'll try to uphold whatever the standards are that are developed for this group. But, just basically the members have to agree to a certain, promise to
Right.
standards.
That, and I know it would be helpful to have an actual like list, whether it be a spreadsheet or a form they fill out with name, email, like location, like what state or what area of the state, just for other people to look at. Kind of, this is a list of the breeders that are in this. If we ended up going with, this is like something that they have to agree to, like breeding towards a standard or something. Yeah, just so that people kind of know.
As far as letting people in the Facebook group, I'd almost say halt that until we get organized a little bit. And if we're gonna, like, if I write up what the standard should be, but leave the blanks for everybody to kind of collaborate and fill in, if I post that, we don't want Billy Bob down the road putting in there that, his pheasant should be on there too. So we might keep it kind of confined until we have some things gelled up a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. It's just hard because I also want people in the breeder group that can put input on it. And I know I only know some people, I know other people know other people. So it's just kind of been, okay, let's get something established, I guess, at who we want to be able to give that input and get kind of the starting stuff down.
Okay. You want to do nominations for some board members, and then during the month, and then vote on it at the next meeting?
Yeah, that'd be a great start.
Okay.
Major officer roles are president, vice president, secretary. Sometimes they have a social media representative, and definitely a treasurer. So if you know anyone that wants to be in a leadership role, kind of either say it now, say it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll put a Facebook post out, and people can comment on there too. And then we'll do I'll send out an official Google form and people can vote.
Silence.
Kind of stepping back to what's the overall goal again? When we are wanting to like start getting members and all this other stuff, what are people getting for their membership fee? Are we going to have a directory? Are we going to have like, you get a little certificate to put on your wall saying you're a member? Like, yeah, why are people going to want to be in this? Basically, kind of again with the goals, what is the?
Yeah,
Well,
I think we're
have a
all
preferred breeder.
right. I think we're all kind of in agreement that we want to be breeding towards better quail, better, stronger, healthier quail. And I think that's kind of a baseline goal. And then the club is really to help put a little bit more guidelines to that, or at least give a direction for some people that may be looking for it.
Okay.
I say, Kelly, I saw your comment in the chat. So anyone who's not opening the chat, she asked, which big NPIP breeders have been invited? I invited pretty much everyone I talked to. So most of you guys here. I also invited Whiskey Tango Farms, William Foster. Trying to think of other people. I sent out a whole bunch of messages. Um,
And you can unmute by, if you move your mouse, it should be down on the lower left-hand corner is where you can mute and unmute.
Oh yeah, I figured it out. My phone was being weird. I'm on my phone,
Ah, got it. Okay.
so it was being weird.
What else was on your list? Because I can't see the list anymore.
can pull it up again.
Terry, it's great to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just in listening to see what you guys got going. As soon as you get everything figured out, Bree, if you want to do something on a live stream or something, maybe we can get it out to more people, you know,
Absolutely.
and on the Facebook group pages, obviously.
I think once we have it established and kind of the main guidelines, the main roles, what membership all means,
Sure.
can definitely.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so that was one of the things for membership dues. If we want to talk about that, I think we need to get a little bit more established before we actually put dues in place. For sure, definitely have a treasurer and a secretary figured out to help sort that through. Yeah, most of the thing I had was goals for the club, meeting dates and times. Do we want to set a meeting right away? We said like about once a month.
You want to do the first Wednesday of every month?
Absolutely.
That's
Everybody good with
perfect.
that? Nod their heads.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have it the first Wednesday of every month. Does 5 o'clock Central Standard Time work for everyone? Is there a better time that works?
It's fine.
For me.
Okay. Someone sent a message. Yep. Okay. So we'll go with that then. And the first Wednesday of every month at 5. Same thing with the Zoom meeting. I just got a notification we have 10 minutes left. So it goes for 40 minutes. That's probably a good time. Be productive and not go over and just ramble on about things. So
Does it cost money?
it does not.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other thing I had, getting it out there. So promotions. I know you had reached out, Jennifer, about like putting a website and a logo together.
Mhm.
Are you guys all okay with the name? I guess I never asked that, but the American
Sounds good to
Coturnix
me.
Breeders Association.
Yeah.
Sounds fine.
I guess the only question would be Coturnix could potentially, there's other, breeds out there that are called Coturnix. It's pretty much well known that it's, Coturnix is Coturnix japonica, but I don't know if anything needs to be added for that. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't care.
Just for the sake of lettering, what about the AQA?
American Quail Association.
Yes, you got the ABA, the APA, we can do the AQA.
The only thing I have with that is I have a lot of people asking about bob whites.
Yeah,
and
other breeds.
Yeah.
Well, the answer would be they're not recognized yet. We're in charge and we can say that.
I'm okay with either. So if you guys would rather have AQA or ACBA, up to you guys.
I like ACBA is fine for me.
Why don't you put it to a poll on your Facebook group?
There you
Sounds
go.
good. I'll
Yeah,
throw that
and-
out there before I forget.
Yeah, and then do the nominations on another post, and then I'll type up a blank standard per se, and we'll post it and people can be filling it in before the next meeting. Because I'm
Awesome.
by no stretch the genetic person, so I'll just do the typing part if you want me to.
Good deal. That would be great.
Yeah.
So just some things we covered. First Wednesday of every month. General, we're gonna put a standard together. I'll put the post out there. I'll do a separate poll for each role. Just so that that's out there, and then you can nominate, you can just write people in for the poll. That's going to be open to everyone in the group. There's like 98 people. Most of the people weren't here, so maybe something to consider, and we'll bring it up at the next meeting just to confirm, everyone's okay with these people, and, we don't have someone that wasn't at the meeting or has never done anything with Quail in a role that, and then, yeah, no, that's pretty much everything I had down. Is there any other big topics people want to cover?
I think this was a good start.
Yeah. Me too. Awesome. So I will end the meeting then and put it all out on Facebook, and we can meet again in June.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jennifer, by the way.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Bree.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Thank you,
guys. Have a good
guys.
one.